Just ahead on CTV News.
The final day to vote early during the early voting period ends tonight. I'm Katara Jones in the studio. I'll have more details coming up on CTV News.
Plus, lawmakers rally against the firings of NOAA employees, and Governor Moore looking to help laid-off federal workers on a state level.
I can tell you that this is the moment when Maryland's going to get creative.
Those stories and more on CTV News starting now. Good evening. This is CTV News for March 3rd. I'm Mariah Jalad. Thanks for joining us. Well, time is running out to cast your ballot during the early voting period for the county's special election. Voters will decide the next leader of Prince George's. CTV's Katara Jones has everything you need to know.
The race to be the next county executive of Prince George's is wrapping up. The early voting period ends tonight with all 9 polling sites closing at 8 p.m. Voters across the county will cast their ballot in their party's primary for the special election for county executive. On the Democratic side, there are 8 candidates vying for the county's top job. The 4 Democrats leading the polls include former county executive Rashawn Baker, who served 2 terms. Current state's attorney Aisha Brayboy, she's being backed by Governor Wes Moore. Maryland State Senator Alonzo Washington, and current county council member at large Calvin Hawkins. U.S. Senator Angela Alsobrooks, who vacated her seat as county executive when she joined the U.S. Senate, is supporting Hawkins. Now, on the Republican side, the candidates include George McDermott, Jesse Peed, and Jonathan White. Whoever wins their party's primary will face off during the special general election on June 3rd. The next leader of Prince George's will have a mountain of issues to tackle, including the county's $170 million deficit, as well as possible cuts coming from the state. Then there's the possibility of the new FBI headquarters not coming to Greenbelt and moving to Virginia. And let's not forget, there are talks of the Washington Commanders moving out of its Landover Stadium and back into Washington, D.C. All of this is happening while the Trump administration is looking to shrink the federal workforce. Here in Prince George's, there are tens of thousands of federal workers and contractors that call the county home. The primary special election day is Tuesday, March 4th, and the special general election is set for June 3rd. Back to you, Michaela, at the anchor desk.
Meantime, voters in District 5 are also heading to the polls. Residents will choose between 7 candidates looking to represent District 5 on the county council. And lawmakers are warning the last 5 weeks of Maryland's General Assembly will be the most difficult, with some concern that the president's actions have thrown the very survival of the state into question. Beyond dealing with the largest budget crisis in years, Governor Wes Moore and the legislature's hopes for tax reform and changes for energy and education policies will likely come down to the wire. There are discussions about extending the session or calling for a special session, bringing lawmakers back to Annapolis later in the year. Both of those choices would have to be agreed upon by legislative leadership and the governor. And fired federal workers and their supporters continue to hit the streets in protest. This morning, a large crowd gathered in Silver Spring. Byron Scott has our story.
Our friends at NOAA are under siege, and we're going to stand with them during these trying times.
They gathered outside the headquarters of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in Silver Spring to make their voices heard.
The reason people work at NOAA is because they want to help people.
Among the masses, climate scientist Tom DiLiberto.
Up until about 3:47 p.m. on Thursday, I was a climate scientist here at NOAA. Now, normally I would say it's so nice to see so many familiar faces here, but given what's happened, I know why those faces are here.
DiLiberto was just 14 days away from the end of his probationary period. He hired on as a federal contractor in 2010 and became a NOAA employee in 2023. Working
at NOAA was my dream since I was in elementary school. Literally, when I was 8, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said, a meteorologist. We shall not be moved.
Hundreds of probationary workers with NOAA were fired just days ago as part of the Trump administration's plan to vastly reduce the federal workforce.
We will not allow the illegal actions of Elon Musk to stand. Are we going to let that stand? No, hell no.
If you want to know what the weather's going to be like next week, you need NOAA.
NOAA, which was established in 1970, includes the National Weather Service. The Firing's mean meteorologists were among those who were let go.
NOAA is 12,000 of the world's best scientists, engineers, ship and aircraft crew, communicators, and business administrators. They have chosen to serve the public with their talents. Now they wait anxiously to see if they'll be allowed to continue.
And so, as they have since the start of the Trump administration, they continue to gather, they continue to demand their jobs back, and they forge ahead into an uncertain future.
Tomorrow night, Donald Trump is going to do the equivalent of a State of the Union. And he's going to tell lie after lie after lie. And it's up to us to get the message out that what he's doing is wrong, the things he's saying is false, and that he's destroying this country, not making it better. Is that right?
Byron Scott, CTV News.
And that address Congressman Glenn Ivey referenced is scheduled for tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Meantime, Governor Wes Moore is making a plea to state agencies, the private sector, and nonprofits to hire laid-off federal employees and contractors in Maryland. On Friday, the governor launched a series of programs aimed at matching state jobs with former federal employees. That includes teaching positions, jobs with the Maryland Department of Transportation, and more. But the governor also said state agencies and departments aren't the only places he's looking to fill jobs.
It was a call out to the private sector, saying we have some really talented people who I'm sure you want to know more about. It's a call out to our nonprofit organizations who are doing the work right now to serve and support the people of our state, who are saying there is a lot of talent and people who are true public servants and true patriots who are ready to do the work and who are ready to continue their mission.
And resources for federal workers can be found at response.maryland.gov/federal public servants. And Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown takes action to enforce a court order blocking the Trump administration's federal funding freeze. On Friday, Brown and 22 other attorneys general filed a second motion in their ongoing lawsuit against the freeze. Multiple judges have ordered the administration to resume funding, but Brown and his coalition says essential funding is still being withheld. Brown says the funding freeze threatens critical emergency preparedness and recovery programs. The coalition is now asking for a court order to release the funds if the Trump administration cannot provide evidence that they have been unfrozen. And Elon Musk is floating the idea of giving American taxpayers a $5,000 refund from the federal government, even though there's no backing in Congress for such a plan. This idea gained some attention when President Donald Trump mentioned it at a Miami conference, suggesting that 20% of savings from Musk's Department of Government Efficiency could go to American citizens, with another 20% directed toward paying down national debt. While Trump supporters online were excited, others quickly dismissed the idea as unrealistic or even absurd. And the battle over blueprint cuts has begun in Annapolis. The House Appropriations Committee rejected most of the governor's proposals for cuts to the multi-billion-dollar education reform plan. The vote against the cuts on Friday kicks off what's expected to be a long battle between the House, Senate, and Governor Moore's administration over what can be cut from the education plan, while the state deals with a projected $3 billion budget gap. The House committee voted against Moore's proposals to delay funding for community schools and for teacher collaborative time. They also voted against eliminating a grant fund used by local school systems. A night of violence erupts at a McDonald's in Hyattsville on Saturday. A security guard is in custody for fatally shooting a man inside the restaurant. The shooting happened at McDonald's on the 2300 block of University Boulevard shortly after 8 p.m. Investigation shows the security guard and the victim were arguing when the shot was fired. The victim was pronounced dead on the scene. The security guard is being charged with second-degree murder. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Mariah Jalad. Still to come, a bill regarding contraception was recently stopped in the State House. Find out why and how it may affect schools after the break.
We hear the stories of people forced to abandon their home. The stories of people whose dreams have been swept away, or their lives left hanging by a thread. Or whose worlds have been blasted apart. Although the stories repeat themselves, each person's experience is unique as they are. And whether it's care or community that people need, we're here to help them live a new chapter, to embrace what makes them unique, be a lifeline to the most vulnerable.
Out! Out! Everybody out! Come on!
Good job. Under 2 minutes.
Keep your loved ones safe from home fires. Practice a 2-minute drill until it's part of your routine. And test your smoke alarms monthly.
In America, millions of families are facing hunger. After rent and power, I can get groceries. It's sad to say food comes last. Anna from Texas. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump announced last week that starting tomorrow, his proposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods will take effect. This, along with an additional 10% duty on Chinese imports. The new tariffs are expected to increase the prices of toys, computers, and cell phones. Trump justified the move by saying the tariffs are necessary to stop the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. from these countries.
To give you an example, already if you go to liquor stores in Canada, you'll find signs saying they're buy Canadian. In several places. So I think it creates a lot of bad blood, especially because of the way it's happened. So in the case of Canada, for instance, the president has said there's a lot of fentanyl coming into the US from Canada, but actually there is no fact to back that up.
And the tariffs on China come just days before the country's annual parliamentary meetings, where Beijing is expected to reveal its economic priorities for 2025. And last Friday, the Senate committee spent all of 10 seconds killing House Bill 380, or what Republicans called the Condoms for Kindergartners bill. The bill would have revised Maryland law to eliminate penalties for selling or offering contraceptives from a vending machine at schools. Anyone who violates the law faces a misdemeanor charge and is subject to a fine of up to $1,000 per violation. And Maryland moves to ban union-busting tactics despite a legal fight looming. The Maryland House just passed the Worker Freedom Act, blocking employers from punishing workers who skip mandatory political or religious meetings. Now, supporters call it a crackdown on union-busting tactics, warning that President Donald Trump may roll back federal labor protections. But business groups, including the Maryland Chamber of Commerce, argue the bill is too broad and threatens employers' free speech rights.
Maryland Democrats stand for our union brothers and sisters, and we stand against union busting by corporations. Under current law, corporations can hold captive meetings where they basically tell their employees, don't join a union. You will be retaliated against if you do this. That is not something we should find acceptable. And so ending these meetings and disallowing them is in the interest of Maryland workers.
That bill is now in the Senate Finance Committee, where it just received a favorable report. And one pedestrian is dead after being hit by a driver who was trying to escape from police Friday night. A Hyattsville police officer attempted to pull over a vehicle in the 3300 block of East-West Highway shortly after 10 p.m. The driver stopped but then continued driving. They then sped onto the shoulder of the highway and hit a pedestrian on the side of the road. The state police crash team and Attorney General's office are leading the investigation into this case. And Maryland state officials say child fatalities have been overreported for years. State officials admitted to a data error that lasted 5 years and inflated numbers of child fatalities related to abuse and neglect. The Maryland Department of Human Services now states that the actual number is much lower than initially reported. The discrepancy stemmed from including cases where maltreatment was suspected rather than confirmed. While the new data shows fewer deaths, experts say it highlights the need for greater transparency and improved child welfare systems. And still to come on CTV News.
A net zero energy ready home is coming to Prince George's County. I'm Bryce Parker. We'll have that story and more coming up on CTV News.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper. I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I am
more than who I am
on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
The lengthy process aimed at reclassifying marijuana from a Schedule I drug to a less restrictive Schedule III is underway. Currently, the federal government puts cannabis in the same category as heroin and LSD. The change could have a big financial impact on cannabis business owners in Maryland because of the tax code. Maryland is expected to make $1 billion in taxes from recreational cannabis sales this year. It's not clear whether the Trump administration supports reclassifying marijuana. Well, the future of affordable housing in Prince George's County launched today in Capitol Heights. CTV's Bryce Parker has more.
Just behind me lies the future site of Prince George's County's first ever net zero energy efficient home. Today, this plot of land in Capitol Heights officially broke ground with a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home set to be completed just before the fall.
I hope that this is the first of many projects that we can see here in Prince George's County, especially inside of the Beltway.
On the corner of Emo Street and Nova Avenue, an affordable and sustainable housing project is officially underway. Community members and county leaders joined together today to celebrate what could be a long-term housing solution.
This is an opportunity for us to bring a level of quality housing to our residents that can't form the normal housing. I went with this group met with them, went all the way to Pittsburgh to see some of these modular homes. So we are now at this point where we can break ground and get some of those houses here.
Three Roots Home is a pilot program launched by Next Step Living. Their goal is to enhance affordable housing by leaning on community-led sustainability efforts, opening up a pathway for job creation in the county.
Right now, we have to go to other markets and jurisdictions, but what would it look like if we had it right here in Prince George's County?
A vision which Oriata and Hawkins believe would come at a perfect time amidst budget and job cuts from the federal government, potentially providing some assurance to county residents unsure of their housing future.
Our next challenge is guaranteed income. We have to do the things to make this Prince George's County the diverse community it's supposed to be by doing things and supporting projects like this.
We know that people are losing their homes. We're going to see an uptick of foreclosure. We've seen prices for rent skyrocket, the pathway to home ownership shrink. And so projects like this, allowing us to create those pathways for home ownership is going to be, I think, a staple of what we see moving forward.
Reporting in Capitol Heights, I'm Bryce Parker, CTV News.
Thanks, Bryce. And construction is scheduled to begin in April with a projected timeline of 12 weeks to complete the home. And the health department is alerting community members of rabid deer. One deer was found at the 5700 block of Livingston Road and was seen appearing very ill and weak. The animal was euthanized by the Department of Natural Resources. If you know of any person or animal that may have had contact with a deer in this area between February 14th and February 24th, please contact the health department immediately at 301-583-3751. And stay right there. Simon Buggs is here with our Monday Sports page.
Innovation.
What's up, everybody? Don't go anywhere because coming right up, the Washington Commanders make a big trade over the weekend. I'll tell you who the newest member of the Burgundy and Gold is after the break. Stay right there.
Innovation transforms the world, moving us forward not just in steps, but in leaps and bounds. Innovation created a healthcare system so extraordinary, it not only improves the lives of veterans, it transforms the lives of healthcare professionals, collaborating through integrated care teams, accessing the latest technology, working with the most advanced medical science, and even creating it. Like discovering new ways to integrate technology with the human body. It's a unique culture of transformation that leads to solutions that best serve our veterans. The Department of Veterans Affairs, where innovation ensures those who served our nation are served by the very best. See how a career at VA can transform your future.
This is where Leah learned to dribble, where James first picked up a brush, where Bella made meal kits for neighbors in need. This school year, many YMCAs are transforming some of their spaces for virtual learning, dedicating staff and even providing meals. So now, this is also where they will master long division, study photosynthesis, and learn when they need support, the Y is there for them. The Y, forever learning for a better us.
A lot of my best memories of the holidays are centered around my grandmother. My grandmother's sweet potato pie, it just felt like a hug. I remember every time we'd come to her house, once you open that door, like it just hits you. And you're like, okay, the pies are ready, it's time. Food is a source of comfort. Food really helps bring people together.
All right, everybody, are you ready? Go ahead and grab a seat because it's time for your Monday Sports page. We begin with some NFL news as my Washington Commanders have wasted no time upgrading the roster as the team has already begun making moves. Over the weekend, the Washington Commanders traded for former San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel in exchange for a 5th-round pick. As part of the trade, the Commanders have also agreed to take on the remainder of the All-Pros contract and pay him over $17 million. Samuel gives quarterback Jaden Daniels another weapon, as he is a very versatile player, as you can line him up all over the field and get him the ball in multiple ways. The former 2nd-round pick will look to do some damage alongside 2-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro wide receiver Terry McLaurin. In other football news, the NFL Combine also took place this weekend, and multiple former Terps put on the show. The first is defensive lineman Tommy Akingbasote. The Largo native recorded a 28-inch vertical jump and an 8'7" broad jump. He also ran the 40-yard dash in 5.09 seconds, which was the 9th fastest among defensive linemen. Receiver Ty Felton also showed off his skills in Indianapolis. The Virginia native recorded a 4.37 40-yard dash, which was the 6th best among receivers. He also posted a vertical jump of almost 40 inches, which ranked 4th among wideouts, and a broad jump of 10 feet 10 inches, which ranked 5th. And finally, we have defensive back Dante Trader Jr. Trader recorded a 31-inch vertical and a 9 feet 9-inch broad jump. He also completed a 3-cone drill in 7.09 seconds, which was the 4th fastest among safeties. Good luck to all the Terps in the next chapter of their football journey. The NFL draft begins on April 24th. I can't wait. Moving on to high school hoops, there was tons of playoff action over the weekend. Crossland came out on top against Fairmont Heights in a close one, 36-34. Bowie season came to a close. They fell to Broadneck, 41-27. And finally, Surrattsville moved on to the next round after taking down College Park Academy, 38-34. Meanwhile, on the boys' side, Frederick Douglass beat Gwynn Park, 62-43. Central and Friendly came down to the wire, but the Falcons came out on top, 56-55. And lastly, Suitland will have to wait until next year to make a run at the state title, as they lost to Annapolis High School, 67-57. And lastly, the Washington Wizards will be in action tonight, taking on Tyler Hero and the Miami Heat. Tip-off is at 7:30. And that wraps up your Monday sports page. Simon Bugs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. Now let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, we're going to have nice, clear skies. Tomorrow, it's going to be partly sunny with a high of 59. Wednesday, we'll have a high of 63. And get out those rain boots because we have a 100% chance of rain. Thursday, it's going to be partly sunny with a high of 53 and low of 34. And for our community calendar, this Thursday, in honor of Women's History Month, Director of the Marietta House, Dr. Julie Rose, will share the latest research about free and enslaved people who lived and labored at the Marietta Tobacco Plantation between 1783 and 1865. This event starts at 7 p.m. at the Montpelier House Museum. For more information, contact 301-377-7817. And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
This is the story of the American Cancer Society. A proven history of 110 years of wins in advocacy, research, and patient support. The story of how people don't have to face cancer alone. Because for 110 years, we have made significant progress against cancer together. Increasing our chances of survival by championing early detection tools and funding and conducting studies like the one that helped reduce smoking's deadly grip. Providing lifelines through patient support for people with cancer and those who love them. Like a home away from home for free. And helping make real change by raising all our voices to make cancer research a national priority. From day one, we believe that research can save lives. We have been committed to providing unwavering support, and we continue to stand up to achieve important policy change. Because we know that's how we can achieve quality cancer care that's equal for all. We are proud of our wins, but even more proud of the brave people that deal with cancer every day. And of all of you that support, donate, volunteer, and work to make it better for every cancer, every life. Now, let's keep making history together. Let's keep winning until we can end cancer as we know it for everyone.